Let me tell you something that no one wants to say out loud. No one is your friend. Sounds harsh, right? But it's true, especially when you're building something. When you're struggling, when you're trying to rise, in the beginning, everyone will smile at you, clap for your ideas, say, you can do it. But the moment you start growing, start doing better than them, watch what happens. Suddenly silence, jealousy, doubt, distance. I remember when I started out, I thought friends would support me. I thought they would cheer me on. Some did for a while. But when sacrifices had to be made, when hard decisions came, most disappeared. Why? Because they were never really in it for me. They were in it for what they could get. Let's be honest, friendship fades when interests collide. It's easy to be friends when nothing is at stake. But when your success threatens their comfort, you become the enemy. So what do? You stop expecting. You stop relying on people's approval. You stop depending on someone to believe in you. You believe in yourself. Build a team. Build partnerships. But keep your eyes open. Loyalty is tested when you fail, and even more when you win. You think people will support your dream because they love you. No. People support what works. If your dream is profitable, they'll line up. If it fails, they'll disappear. This is not pessimism. This is business. This is reality. And yet, this is also freedom. Because when you accept that no one is your friend, you stop chasing applause. You start building in silence. You make better decisions. You become dangerous, not because you're cold, but because you're clear. So next time you feel alone on your journey, remember this: no one is your friend, but that's exactly how winners are made. In business, the harsh reality is this: emotions can destroy what logic builds. When you're making decisions based on how you feel instead of what's smart, you are setting yourself up to lose. It doesn't matter how passionate you are, how loyal someone has been, or how good the relationship once was. If you let emotions take the driver's seat, you will crash. Business is not personal. It's about value, performance, timing, and leverage. The moment you start mixing emotions with execution, you're giving power to things that have no place in strategy. You'll make bad hires because he's a friend. You'll keep an unproductive employee because she's been with you since day one. You'll refuse to fire someone because they're trying hard. None of that pays bills. None of that builds a scalable company. You might think, but I care about my people. That's good, but business doesn't care about your feelings. The market doesn't give a discount because you're nice. Your competitors won't slow down because you're sentimental. The moment you lose your edge, someone else eats your share. Most people don't understand the cost of emotional decision making in business until it's too late. They let guilt stop them from cutting expenses. They let pride prevent them from pivoting. They stay in partnerships that are draining them, all because of emotional attachment. These decisions are not seen as mistakes in the moment. They're seen as loyalty, as being human. But 6 months later, when the money runs out or the opportunity slips away, the same people call it regret. Being emotional doesn't make you weak, but being emotional in business decisions makes you vulnerable. Emotions make you reactive instead of proactive. They make you hold on when you should let go. They make you trust when you should verify. They make you hope when you should act. A founder once said, "I didn't fire my co-founder even though he was killing the company, because we were best friends." By the time he made the move, the damage was already done. The company lost investors, missed product deadlines, and nearly collapsed. Why? Because he confused friendship with accountability. The market didn't care that they were friends. The customers didn't care that it was an emotional decision. All that mattered was delivery, and they failed to deliver. This happens every day. People mistake loyalty for performance. They assume that someone who wants to win is the same as someone who can win. They choose comfort over truth. They avoid conflict, thinking it's kindness, but in reality, they are just postponing a necessary decision. Emotional leaders make the worst decisions not because they're bad people, but because they're not trained to separate heart from outcome. in a negotiation. If you get angry, you lose leverage. If you get too excited, you reveal your desperation. If you let personal feelings dictate price, timeline, or partnership terms, the other side will take advantage of you. Business is a game of leverage, and emotions erode your leverage faster than anything else. Ask yourself, do you want to be liked or do you want to succeed? Because most of the time, you can't have both. Being respected in business often requires making hard calls, firing good people who are wrong for the job, saying no to attractive but risky opportunities, cutting ties with people you once considered family. Those decisions hurt in the short term, but they protect the long term. This doesn't mean you should become cold or robotic. It means you need emotional discipline. You need to know when to feel and when to decide. Business rewards clarity, not confusion. The clearer your mind is, the more accurate your judgment. Emotion clouds judgment. It distorts risk. It blinds you to red flags. It makes you hold on to what should be let go, chase what should be avoided, and delay what should be done immediately. Most people believe friendships are built to last forever. That's what we're told growing up. Loyalty, support, trust. It sounds beautiful, but step into the world of business and that idea gets tested fast. The moment money, control, recognition, or survival enters the equation, friendships start to wobble. They shake, crack, and often collapse. Not because people are evil, but because interests change, and when they do, people change with them. You can grow up with someone, go broke with someone, even build something from scratch together. But the minute what you want and what they want are no longer aligned, conflict will follow. It's not personal, it's structural. Because in business, it's not about feelings, it's about position, outcome, and control. Here's what most people don't understand: alignment is everything. Two people can be friends for 10 years, but if one wants to scale fast and the other wants to play it safe, it won't last. If one wants to reinvest profits and the other wants to cash out, it won't last. You'll see tension, resentment, passive aggression, and eventually open betrayal. It starts small. One friend starts making more decisions without consulting the other. One wants more credit, more money, more say. Suddenly the energy shifts. Meetings feel colder. Communication slows down. You realize you're not aligned anymore. Not in vision, not in values, not in drive. And that's where the friendship starts dying. In the beginning, you think you can fix it. You tell yourself, we've known each other forever. We'll work it out. But business has no memory. It only rewards performance and alignment. If your interests aren't synced, the business will suffer. If you force it to work just to protect the friendship, you lose twice. First the business, then the friendship anyway. And here's the part no one talks about. When interests clash, people justify anything. The same person who once stood by you will now say, I deserve more, or I was always the one doing the real work, or you changed. And maybe you did. Maybe they did. That's not the point. The point is, when interests aren't aligned, even the best memories can't keep the team together. This happens with co-founders, business partners, longtime employees, anyone. At some point, one of you wants something different: more money, less work, a faster exit, a bigger role, a louder voice. That's when it becomes clear it was never just about the friendship. It was about what the friendship was providing. And once it stops providing that value, people walk. Some don't walk. They sabotage. They stay, but they start playing politics, whispering, withholding, undermining. They become silent blockers instead of open allies. And you're sitting there thinking, but we're friends. No, you were friends until your paths diverged. Friendship is easy when things are equal, when there's no pressure, no scoreboard. But when it's time to make hard calls, when someone has to be the CEO, when equity has to be split, when responsibility has to be owned, that's when the truth comes out. People reveal who they are when their interests are threatened. This is why mature entrepreneurs protect the business first. They don't mix roles without clear boundaries. They put everything in writing, even with friends. They understand that structure preserves relationships better than feelings ever could. Because when interests clash, the only thing that can hold things together is clarity, not loyalty. You'll hear stories all the time. Best friends turned enemies, partners who haven't spoken in years, one suing the other over a broken deal. These aren't rare exceptions. They're patterns. The root cause is almost always the same. Interests shifted, and no one was honest enough to admit it early. Instead of renegotiating, they avoided the conflict. They let it fester, and when it exploded, the friendship couldn't survive the fallout. It's not bitterness. It's the game. And the game doesn't care how close you once were. When everything goes wrong, and it will at some point, most people look around for someone to save them. They call friends. They blame circumstances. They hope someone shows up with advice, money, a solution, anything. But the truth is, in life and in business, no one is obligated to fix your problems. No one is staying up at night thinking about how to rescue you. That's your job. That's your responsibility. You are your own backup plan. The faster you accept that no one is coming, the faster you get stronger. This isn't about being negative. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about developing a mindset where your survival, your success, your rebound, all of it is in your hands. Not your parents, not your mentors, not your partners, yours. People will say they have your back. Sometimes they mean it. But when things get real, when money's tight, when failure is looming, when the situation gets uncomfortable, they disappear. Not because they hate you, because they have their own problems, their own fires, their own risks. And if helping you threatens their comfort, they'll choose themselves every time. That's not betrayal. That's human nature. So stop building your safety net out of other people. Stop expecting that someone else will step in when things get hard. Start building skills. Start building emotional resilience. Start building the discipline to handle it yourself. If your business fails, learn how to start again. If a deal collapses, figure out how to create a new one. If you get burned by someone you trusted, learn how to keep moving without their support. People talk about having plan A and plan B, but most people's plan B is hoping someone saves them. That's not a plan. That's wishful thinking. Your plan B needs to be you. Your own resourcefulness, your own creativity, your own ability to pivot when everything falls apart. There will be days when you feel abandoned, when people ignore your calls, when investors pull out, when friends suddenly get busy. In those moments, the only thing you'll have is what's in your head and what's in your heart. Your knowledge, your grit, your ability to think clearly when everything is a mess. That's why you can't afford to be emotionally fragile. You have to be your own support system before you ever expect anyone else to show up. And even when people do show up, when they help, when they advise, when they support you, be grateful, but don't get dependent. Because help is temporary. Encouragement is temporary. The real engine behind your recovery, your growth, your breakthrough is always going to be internal. When the dust settles, the only person standing next to you 100% of the time is you. People romanticize the idea of teams and partners and mentors. And yes, those things matter, but only if you've already built yourself first. Only if you're solid with or without them. A team is powerful when each person can stand on their own. A partner is valuable when you're not leaning on them to carry all the weight. A mentor is useful when you're already taking action, not when you're waiting around for guidance before you move. The world doesn't owe you support. It rewards those who support themselves first. You have to be your own motivator when no one believes in you. Your own strategist when plans collapse. Your own cheerleader when the silence feels loud. No one can do the internal work for you. No one can train your mind for you. No one can make you bounce back faster except you. People waste years waiting for a lifeline that never comes. They wait for the right timing, the right partner, the right call. But time doesn't stop while you wait. It moves on. Opportunities move on. People move on. And if you're not prepared to move on by yourself, you'll get left behind. One of the most common mistakes people make, especially in business, is assuming that trust comes automatically. They believe that just because someone smiles, nods, or shares a few common goals, that person is trustworthy. But trust is not a given. It's not based on time, titles, or even shared history. Trust is earned through behavior, results, and consistency under pressure. You don't trust people because they say the right things. You trust people because they do the right things, especially when no one's watching. In the business world, words are cheap. Promises are easy. Commitments mean nothing without follow-through. Everyone sounds good when the stakes are low. Everyone has integrity in the first meeting. The real test comes when money's involved, when decisions get hard, when circumstances change. People often get blindsided because they put their faith in someone too fast. A co-founder talks big and disappears when it's time to execute. A new hire impresses in interviews and then delivers excuses instead of results. An investor says they're all in, then ghosts the moment the numbers dip. And every time, people say, "But I trusted them." That's the problem. You trusted too soon. Trust is not a blanket you throw on someone because you like them. It's not a favor. It's a currency. You don't hand it out freely and hope for the best. You watch how people move. You study their habits. You see how they handle pressure. You give small opportunities and see what they do with them. Then, over time, you decide if they've earned more. Even in long-term relationships, trust must be maintained. Just because someone was loyal last year doesn't mean they're loyal now. Just because they did the right thing once doesn't mean they'll do it again. People change. Motivations shift. Pressure exposes. That's why smart leaders are always observing, always evaluating. Not out of paranoia, but out of experience. Blind trust is not a strength. It's a liability. It opens the door to being manipulated, taken advantage of, and set up for failure. It's how people lose control of their companies, lose key deals, lose momentum. They trusted someone because it felt right, not because the person had earned it. You don't have to be cold or cynical. You just have to be clear. Clear that trust isn't something you give away, it's something people work for. And the same applies to you. If you want people to trust you, don't talk about how reliable you are. Prove it. Show up early. Deliver consistently. Handle conflict with maturity. Own your mistakes. That's how trust is built from both sides. Think of trust like credit. No one gets a loan without a credit score. In business, trust is your score. And just like credit, it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what your record says. Can you be counted on under pressure? Do you follow through when it's hard? Can people rely on your silence as much as your words? These are the metrics. Too many people assume that trust is transferable. They think, my friend trusts this person, so I can too. That's a shortcut to disaster. Just because someone came with a recommendation doesn't mean they've earned your trust. You still have to do your own due diligence. You still have to put them through the same filter. Otherwise, you're not managing risk, you're gambling. Even inside teams, even among so-called trusted circles, trust is never automatic. The moment you stop watching, people cut corners. The moment you stop checking, standards drop. The best environments are built on accountability, not assumptions. People perform better when they know their actions are noticed, measured, and expected to meet a certain standard. Trust, when earned properly, becomes powerful. It creates speed. It removes friction. It builds loyalty. But if you skip the process and assume trust from the start, you're not building a team. You're building a time bomb. When you decide to chase something bigger than comfort, when you commit to building, growing, leading, or breaking a mold, you quickly realize something most people never talk about. It gets lonely. Not because people hate you, not because you isolate yourself on purpose, but because the higher you go, the fewer people understand the weight you're carrying. Everyone wants success, but no one talks about the silence that comes with it. The long nights where you're the only one still working. The decisions you have to make alone because no one else sees what you see. The conversations you can't have because people around you are operating at a different level of urgency, of hunger, of vision. In the beginning, everyone is around. Friends cheer you on. Family supports you. You have people to talk to, people who nod along. But the moment your pace increases, they start to drop off. You work while they party, you invest while they spend. You evolve while they stay the same. Slowly, your world separates from theirs, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. The path you're on doesn't leave much room for passengers. People don't talk about the emotional tax of growth. The birthdays you miss, the weekends you give up, the relationships that fade because you no longer fit the same conversations. You start to feel misunderstood, not because you're better, but because you're moving differently. You see through things they still chase. You avoid things they still desire. And so, the distance grows. It gets lonely when you can't share your struggles without being told to take a break. It gets lonely when you can't talk about your wins without someone calling you lucky. It gets lonely when you outgrow your circle but haven't found your next one yet. And that's where most people break, not from failure, but from the isolation that comes with progress. The climb separates you. It forces you into rooms where you're the least experienced, the least connected, the least understood. You walk into meetings and no one cares about your past. You pitch your vision and people stare blankly. You lead people who don't see what you see and carry the pressure of being responsible when they don't show up. You're expected to stay strong even when you're not sure what's next. This is the part no one claps for. The phase where there's no spotlight. Just silence, self-doubt, and the constant pressure to keep going when nothing feels certain and still. You climb, not because you enjoy the loneliness, but because the vision matters more than the comfort. Because stopping now means betraying everything you started for. Most people quit not because it's too hardly, but because it's too lonely. They miss the comfort of being understood. The ease of having people around who agree with them. The warmth of belonging. So they slow down. They shrink their dreams to fit their environment. They settle. All to feel less alone. And they call it maturity, balance, peace. But deep down, they know they gave up the climb. You will lose people on the way up. Some will walk away. Some you'll have to let go of. Some will quietly fade. And it will sting. But every level requires a new version of you, and not everyone is meant to meet that version. Growth demands space. It demands solitude. It demands that you face parts of yourself that are hidden when you're always surrounded. No one tells you how heavy it is to be the one with the vision, the one who carries the pressure, makes the sacrifices, and takes the risks while others watch from a safe distance. There are days when you'll question everything, days when quitting feels easier than continuing alone, but that's the nature of the climb. The air gets thinner, the noise gets quieter, and the path narrows the higher you go. In the end, the journey to the top is yours alone. People will walk beside you when it's convenient, but the moment your path threatens their comfort, their ego, or their interests, they will choose themselves. That doesn't make them evil. It makes them human. In business, in life, in any arena where stakes are real and outcomes matter, friendships are fragile. Emotions, trust, loyalty, these are powerful, but they are not permanent. When goals collide, when money's on the table, when things fall apart, you'll find out quickly no one is your friend unless it benefits them too. That's why you must build with eyes open and expectations closed. Respect people. Collaborate. Lead with integrity. But never assume anyone owes you loyalty. Trust must be earned constantly. Interests must align consistently. And when they don't, be ready to stand alone, strategically, emotionally, and financially. Your resilience is your real partner. Your discipline is your real support. Your clarity is your true compass. Everything else can shift. When things go wrong, it's not your network, your co-founder, or your old friends who will save you. It's the version of you that prepared for the day when no one else shows up.